heard the saying, goes the body, so goes the mind. But that's only part of it. Really, the idiom should be, goes the body, so goes your life. Tony Robbins, when asked what the most important thing an individual can do to improve their life, if he could only suggest one change, he famously responded, exercise.
You gotta exercise, you gotta work out, you gotta lose some weight.
Pulitzer Prize winner Charles Duhigg agrees. The most important habit, the habit that can improve every other habit, he says,
imagine for a moment that you have a habit that you really want to change.
Is exercise. Now, granted, exercise is not the end-all be-all of health, but it's a really good start. And the reason is, again, because goes the body, so goes your life. But even that, honestly, is a bit too shallow. Why do we not exercise? And why do we not treat our bodies well? And the answer is down, 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 all the way down to the question, like, what is the point of our lives? But your body also, regardless of the details of each individual part, as a whole, is no different than any other part of your life. If you want to optimize your body's performance, if you want your body to work successfully, then you need to first change your mindset about it. And this goes for ultra marathon runners or Olympic athletes just as much as it goes for those of us who struggle with obesity or addiction. The mindset tools are the same. The problems burn from both ends of the spectrum. Because unless you understand how to think about your body and your health, how to frame it within the confines of the rest of your identity, you will continuously self-sabotage. I know I have. Which ultimately leads to a shorter and a less exciting life. Literal and psychological pain, self-esteem issues, a lack of love in your life sometimes, loneliness, depression, self-doubt, excessive worry, and suboptimal professional performance, which leads to less money, less freedom, less safety, and less impact, and on and on and on. Which the answer is basically we want to increase pleasure, we want to decrease pain, less doubt and worry, more fulfilled desires. But how do we do that? How do we optimize for these desires over the larger course of our lives and decrease pain over the long haul of our entire existence? There are many theories, though most of them have something to do with a combination of personal satisfaction, let's call it experiences that we enjoy, or even Epicurean indulgences at times, and its corollary altruistic meaning. Translated into plain English, that means that we humans take pleasure in obvious hedonistic momentary pleasures like food, sex, dancing, esteem, warmth, massages, and accomplishments. But we also find pleasure in giving to others, in being important for someone else, living with honor, giving back to our communities, teaching, making the world a better place for having been here. And with regards to eliminating pain, the obvious is not being sick or being in actual physical pain. We don't want that. No one wants that. Anytime you've ever been sick, you already know this. Sickness takes over everything else in your life. All your worries about work or some social whatever, it all falls away in comparison to a migraine. Pain is an all-encompassing thing in this way. But also, we don't want to be in emotional pain either. We don't want to be depressed. Here's what we've learned. To live a healthy and happy life at scale, we need to 1, give ourselves some short-term pleasure, and 2, do well for the world, and 3, eliminate physical pain, and 4, eliminate emotional pain. There you go, 4 variables to consider. Then in theory, when perfected, we're golden, we're good. So that's nice, that makes things easier. At least we have a mountain to climb. But of course, there are a million different ways to go about this in theory, right? Well, not quite. Even the stereotypical Epicureans, those Greek philosophers who came after the Stoics, those who are now synonymous with pleasure, weren't as one-sided as you might think. They weren't drinking wine and having orgies all the time. Quite the opposite. In fact, because they knew that a hangover induced pain in the future and a complicated communal relationships were also painful. Jealousy, tension, anxiety, these are not good. So instead of thinking of avoiding pain and increasing pleasure as a short-term fix, they spent most of their days thinking long-term, namely sipping small amounts of diluted wine, exercising, working on something they like, talking about the great questions of their day, playing, eating healthy foods, and building communities with people they love. Interesting, right? Not exactly what you might expect. But therein lies the clue for how we must view our bodies in general. Not as afterthoughts, but as the only thing. Because in fact, our bodies are the only thing we have. For example, have you ever had a panic attack? I have. I've had a few, in fact. Good old stoic me, you can control anything in your life so long as you have the right mental tool to deal with it. Jonathon, yes, I have had my fair share of panic attacks. And I don't know about yours, but mine are absolutely terrifying. The reason is that you become immediately and sharply aware of your own bodily systems. You are aware that your heart is beating and that if your heart stops beating, you stop. You start counting your breaths, the shortness of your breaths, the difficulty in breathing the air. What is air, you wonder? Why do we need it? What happens if the machine stops working? What if I can't get enough air? I can't breathe. And then we worry about maybe getting a little tingle in our arm. Am I having a heart attack? And it's crazy. It feels crazy. I remember, in fact, one time coming home from work to find my wife laying outside in the cold of San Francisco in our backyard. She was in the fetal position, shivering to all high hell. And I asked her, what's wrong? Why are you out here here. Are you okay? And she didn't respond. She was half asleep, half delirious, breathing in these rapid, short bursts. I was really scared. She had already gone through the panic attack and the worry. And in fact, at this point, she said that she was in a state of strange serenity. I thought I was going to die, she later told me. So I just sort of accepted it. I went outside because I wanted to feel the air and the sky, she said, which says a lot about her humanity, about everything really, that when you die, you want to be outside. But more specific to this conversation, she had a panic attack so strong that she couldn't breathe, or she didn't feel like she could breathe. We discussed it later. Definitely it was stress induced, as most panic attacks are. But the larger point, in these types of moments, or in a car accident, or the lump in your throat just before taking off in an airplane, or the way you feel while standing on the edge of a cliff, or if you've ever had an uncomfortable trip on a hallucinogenic drug, they all point to the same thing, that we are vulnerable. Our bodies are penetrable. We are emphatically mortal because we are fundamentally organic material. It may be true that we're also some spiritual, divine, godlike soul vessel thing, but also if the tiniest thing goes wrong or out of whack in our body, we're dead. It's true. It's uncomfortable, but it's true. And I'm not saying it's worth obsessing over, but it is worth noticing, because when an object is susceptible and delicate, it's also precious. It's worth more. Our bodies then aren't some afterthought. They are literally who we are. They are our window out into the world. They are how we receive pleasure and how we receive pain. They are how we live, how we thrive. They are the means to which we can give value. And so we'll get into further details in future lessons, the hows and the whats for diet and exercise and mental and physical health, what to avoid and what not to do, how to optimize for the longest and best life possible. We can do that later in other lessons. But none of that knowledge will matter. None of it will sink in unless you change your mindset about what your body is. Namely, that how you treat your body is how you're treating yourself. That how you view your body is how you view yourself. That if you are grateful for it and treat it well, you will be grateful and the world will in turn reciprocate. That your body is vulnerable and so that you too are vulnerable. And that's okay. But it means you have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of your body. And if you don't, whether you like it or not, whether you say differently, your actions prove otherwise. Every time you don't exercise or you drink too much alcohol or you self-harm with food binges, you are proving to yourself and the universe and God even that you don't respect yourself that much. That you are ungrateful for the vessel that has been given to you. That you don't respect the temple that is you. Your body is a temple. That you're okay with a shorter life and therefore less impact in exchange for momentary pleasure. You don't feel like it is, but it's a bit selfish, right? And it's sad because you're worth more than that. And God knows I am not perfect. Half this lesson is for myself, honestly. I have smoked thousands of cigarettes and had many alcoholic benders in my 20s. I've gone off the rails and eaten 2 pizzas in one night. I do it all the time, okay? So it's not easy. I know. And we'll fall over and over and over and over again. We're gonna fail. And new science, by the way, will be discovered, and what we thought was healthy and good last year will all of a sudden be bad. It's gonna be difficult. We'll get in shape and then we'll get out of shape. And then we'll get in shape and then we'll get out of shape. I know, it happens to me, it will happen to you. So don't take this like it's judgmental. I'm just saying that we should look in the mirror. And as a reminder, we are this body that we see in the mirror. It is not separate from our mind or from our goals. Our bodies are gifts. And so we should treat them with respect and reverence, right? Our bodies matter because we matter. I hope that helped. Thanks for listening. Until next time, cheers.